Our next presenter this afternoon is Dr. Justin Matus, Associate Professor in the Sidhu School of Business. Dr. Matus earned his PhD in Health Service Research from Old Dominion University. Dr. Matus is a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives and currently serves on the boards of 2 area hospitals. His research interests include healthcare policy, motivation, and classroom technology. The title of Dr. Matus's presentation this afternoon is An Analysis of Technology-Enhanced Pedagogy and Learning, Student Response Systems, Tool or Toy. Please welcome Dr. Justin Matus.
This might be the hardest part of the technology, is to get these slides to go forward. All righty, I've mastered the technology. Well, let's get one thing clear right away. My dean said the stipend was $50, so. Well, our Vice President of Student Development, Dr. Paul Adams, asked that one of the things we try and do is tie our research and relate to the audience how you involve students, and that just made me even more excited to have this chance to come here and give this quick chat. You'll see there's 2 other colleagues on here, Kristen Suma, who is my former student and is in the audience. So take a bow, Kristen. Couldn't have done the research without Kristen's help, and the third co-researcher is a Wilkes grad and a current PhD candidate at the University of Missouri St. Louis, Rob Kushke, but a former Wilkes grad, so it's Wilkes, Wilkes, Wilkes all the way around. Let's talk real quick about what do we mean by a clicker. You've all seen the television game shows, the audience votes via a little handheld device, and then the results of that audience survey can quickly be displayed. And so this technology has migrated into the classroom. And really the question becomes, well, is this a really effective enhancement to classroom learning, or is it just a gadget? That was the basic research question, very simple research question. Does it affect student learning? So real quickly, we'll walk through how we try to answer this research question. The research design, we used an intact capstone strategy class that I teach at the undergraduate level. We had a total of 62 students, and we used something called a 3x3 counterbalance design, which I think in the coming slides will become more clear. We describe it as quasi-random assignment. One of the concerns is, well, perhaps the folks who take strategy at 8 o'clock in the morning are more motivated, or perhaps probably closer to more sleepy, and that somehow will skew your results. We were able to demonstrate, shall we say statistically for the sake of simplicity, that the groups were fairly equal, so we were able to kind of level the groups. And we did that using 2 different pre-tests, so we were fairly confident that going into the experiment there were no significant differences between Group A, Group B, and Group C. There were 3 treatments. So we had 3 groups, and the treatments were the what we insiders call the classic dry, boring lecture, the one we all love. The second treatment was to use the technology in question, the clickers. And the third treatment was to use a kind of a hybrid approach, making resources available to the students in an online environment. They would go to a website, do a practice quiz, things of that nature. And there was one outcome that we were trying to measure, student performance, and it was repeated measures. The experiment basically ran along these 3 months. So everything worked in 3. It's nice, neat, tidy. September, October, November, Class A, Class B, Class C. And each month, everyone rotated across all 3 possible treatments. And at the end of each month, each group received an exam. So then the million-dollar question is, well, what happened? There's the results. What happened? Well, Class A, Class B, Class C, we didn't find a whole lot of anything. And it was interesting. I presented a smaller version of this research, and it was our former provost who I think interestingly gave us something to latch onto, and that was, well, you could argue it the other way, that for example, in the online environment, students learn just as effectively in that online environment. On the other hand, when you think about technology in the classroom, and it hasn't ended, and in fact, we're this year in the business school, our freshmen are using iPads, and technology is not going away, but I think research like this begs the question, you know, is it a good investment? Does it affect outcomes at the end of the day? So moving through the rest of the results, for those of you that like numbers and statistics, I don't think they need a lot of interpretation. And again, these are the pretest scores. I got off track a little bit, as I'm known to do. So on the pretest side, no significant differences. And here's probably what you're most interested in, the actual test scores. And again, you can see the class sizes were fairly similar to 22, 21, and 19. And as you look at the average test scores month to month, I mean, what we're looking for, is there some smoking gun? Is there some aha moment? And again, we did not find that. I think one of the other things we learned in hindsight was, not to give another lecture on research design, but there's two concepts in research: internal validity and external validity. And internal validity simply means that have we carefully controlled the internal environment so that if you find an effect, it's not because of some other factor, that the effect is only from, for example, the clickers. And so by trying to be so careful in that regard, you also tie your hands. I think one of our biggest challenges was really to try and make meaning out of the results and do the appropriate analysis. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, there's been similar studies, and I don't think the book is closed on clickers as to whether they work or not. I know a lot of my colleagues, for example, over in pharmacy and biology, in large classrooms use clickers, especially in a practice exam or review environment. So I think they have their place, but like a lot of tools in technology, I think we need to be careful about how we deploy those tools. It kind of reminds me of the old adage: if you give a small boy a hammer, suddenly everything he encounters needs pounding. So that's probably my big takeaway on this. And again, I got a little bit ahead of myself. No statistically significant differences. And I think I'm doing pretty well on time. So what does it mean? Where do we go from here? Yeah. Questions? Questions about clickers in the classroom? Sir, yeah. Hi. Tom.
Go back to that slide showing the, go back a few more. Got it. All right. Just eyeballing it, there is something of a pattern showing that the first where the scores are sort of low, they go up in October, they decline slowly in November. Could there be an instance here where people in the early part of this course, just getting the feel of the material, they peak in October, and by November they're burning out?
Yeah, they all do that.
Harder,
yeah.
And therefore, regardless of how they're learning, it's just getting harder. I mean, and this is one of those internal validity things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We just don't know. Now, I think the other bright side. I was thinking about this on a drive as I was anticipating this lecture. And again, back to Dr. Adams' challenge to relate this back to students. I think the other, again, exciting thing for me in relating it back to the student experience, both for Kristen and Rob Kuschke, is they also now learn how to do research. And in fact, this really serves as the pilot study for Rob's PhD dissertation. Rob is a school teacher in the Tunkhannock School District, and he's essentially replicated this experiment, made some modifications, and has actually done a lot more intensive observations throughout the semester in the classroom. And he's also pursuing the class participation piece. And really there is that whole idea of class participation, which again is another angle on how to deploy the clickers. But if I were trying to sell you clickers, one of the sales pitches is, oh, well, this will spur class participation. The student who maybe is afraid to raise their hand or doesn't want to be embarrassed or be perceived as someone trying to brown-nose the instructor, they might be more inclined to participate because they could silently sit there and give their response. But again, I think the research is a mixed bag on whether class participation predicts learning. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, hi.
Aside from the numbers, what do the students think about it?
Oh, great question. And in full disclosure, the students were in on it. And our other researcher, Rob Kuschke, he was like the plant in the back of the room. Like on the first day of class, it's like, okay, that guy back there, Rob Kuschke, he's an observer. You know, get over it. He's there. You are all part of one grand experiment. And we were not at all concerned that that would somehow bias the results, because again, after a while, he became part of the furniture. The students like the clickers to a point, but you could definitely overdo it in terms of a review. I think the other kind of subtle lesson is they really like the online environment and the practice quizzes, and I think the teachable moment for me is you have to make an environment where it's safe for students to fail. And I think it's one of the things we probably never are quite good as we should be in terms of kind of making that environment for students. So, how am I on time? All right. Thank you.